Good day. I'm George A. Sanders. Once again, I come before you to give you some update information that I consider that is important. It's important to me, and I think it may very well be important to you as a taxpayer and a citizen here in the town of Littleton. I like to think I'm a voice of reason because I like to take things in consideration and look at the benefit that is going to come about as a result of our town official spending your taxpayers' dollars. As it stands right now, I just want to bring you up to date as to what is on the horizon here in the town of Littleton. As you well know, that we have the project of 550 King Street. They've signed the contracts. That's going to be moving very quickly here. And Littleton bought the property at 410, which is another project. Those are two projects. Will that affect you as a taxpayer? Indirectly, it will not affect you because the town is not having to put up any money with regards to that project. But in the long run, there may be, down the road, some effect to the town as a taxpayer. What else do we have going on? We have the sewer, the new sewer system expansion. That contract's been signed. Shovels going in the ground shortly. They're going to build the treatment facility, the wastewater treatment facility. That's going very soon. How will that affect you as a taxpayer? Well, the town is on the hook for the amount of money that's going to be borrowed until it's paid. So hopefully the users are going to be the one that's going to pay that debt. But for whatever reason, if something should happen, the town is on the hook for whatever is owed. That will affect you, but we're hoping that will not take place and you'll be affected in that way. The PFAS treatment plant on Wickham, yes, that affects you as a water payer, water rate user. So that's a project that's to be completed very shortly here and put online. The other project we have is Taylor Street well over there. The Taylor Street well is coming online. That's going to affect you as a water rate payer. Also, the project of supplying water to Boxborough as a ratepayer, that's going to affect you as a water ratepayer as well. Just a little bit on that. Now we're looking at the MBTA, which is wanting to put housing down by the train station here in Littleton. There are 150 units they're looking at, they're talking about. Indirectly, that project, a developer will come in and probably build that, but you never know what they're going to come and ask. They might ask for a TIF, which is a tax break, by coming in and building whatever is designed and approved to build there. TIF, they call it. What else do we have? We have the senior center project is on the move. That's a project that I'm going to speak more extensive about here and let you know what my thoughts are about that project. Now we have Indian Hill Music Center building off King Street up there. It's empty. It's just sitting there. We paid $3.5 million for it, and it's sitting there. Now I want to move in and sort of kind of tell you that's sort of kind of what's on the horizon here in the town of Littleton. It's important for you to understand that we as taxpayers, we have to be concerned about the debt that we owe. We have to be concerned about the ability to pay our debt on time. And we have to be concerned about not going into debt when it's unnecessary. That's very important. And our fathers, the leaders, I call them the fathers of this town, would be what I comprise of, the select board and the FinCom. I'll call them leadership fathers. They are the one that's supposed to ensure that everything is done and that we as taxpayers are being protected in ensuring that we can meet those obligations that I just spoke about, our debt, not going in unnecessary debt, and we're getting the best boom for the taxpayer dollar. That is important to me as a taxpayer. I now want to shift to the senior center. First and foremost, let me tell you, I am not against the senior center. I am for the senior center, but I have some reservations with regards to the senior center, and I'm going to spell that out and let you know. Let's look at the cost that we're talking about right now. We have $5 million that's in stabilization funds. It's going to cost approximately 1.5 in the design that they're doing, $1.5 million in design. We spent probably $1 million, maybe a little bit more. We're supposed to be able to borrow $12 million. So now, if you count that up with what's in the stabilization, that's $18.5 million. And then they said to replace the tennis court here at Shatter Street, roughly between $750,000 to $1 million. That's $19.5 million. $19.5 million is a lot of money for one project, plus the debt that is already on the roads that we are paying down. Plus, we have in the mill that is working in the preliminary stage a new study for elementary high school, which is Shaker Lane. Numbers have been thrown around like 30 million to 50 million. Yes, one of the things that we have to deal with is inflation. Inflation is up there. There's no question about it. Inflation is a killer when we talk about the economy. From an economic standpoint, it affects everything. But we have to be concerned about our local economy here as to how much debt we get into. Every budget for the town must be balanced. You have to come up with the money to balance the budget in some fashion or form. And if it means that you have to do an override to get the money, then you have to do that. But the budget has to be balanced before the state will let you go forward. So that means that we have to be concerned about what debt is unnecessary. I think the $19.5 million debt for this senior center building from the ground up is unnecessary. And the reason I say it's unnecessary is because right now we have the Indian Hill building sitting empty. It is empty. Let me back up and tell you what I think. I think that the building that is in progress, which is the senior center, is 17,000 square feet. Well, Indian Hill building is 24,000 square feet, and it is empty. So why can't we take 17,000 square feet of that building and rehab it into a senior center? We have $5 million that is in a stabilization fund. We can rehab the 24,000 square feet, and we can take the other 7,000 square feet and give it to Parks and Recs. Now we don't have to spend $19.5 million. We do not have to move the tennis courts this year. It makes sense. And I have sent a letter to the leadership fathers, to the select board members, and to the FinCom members, telling them exactly what I am telling you about now. I do not believe that they're being prudent with taxpayer dollars, putting us into this kind of debt, because we need to ensure that we're getting the best boom for the dollar that's being spent. And putting us in $19.5 million of debt is not being prudent. Then we got, as I say again, Shaker Lane New Elementary School that's going to come on board. That undoubtedly is going to be outside the levy, but it's still debt. Just between the school and, say, the senior center, two buildings, we're in $50 or $60 million of debt, plus whatever left debt that we have on the books at the time when these buildings are built, means that unlikely you're not going to see that you're going to pay less taxes. You're going to pay more taxes. And I'm concerned about the paying of the more taxes to pay the debt when we can save, I say, $14.5 million just by putting the brakes on the senior center building being built from the ground up, and take the $5 million we have in the stabilization fund. Even if we had to go and borrow another $1 million or $2 million to do whatever we need to do to that building of Indian Hill Music Center to make it be what we need it to be for the senior center and for Park and Recs. That's $7 million. We already got $5 million. We probably wouldn't have to go out and borrow the $2 million. But just to say we go and borrow the $2 million, that's a big difference than going out borrowing the 12 plus maybe more with regards to keep going with building the senior center. No, I said to you as taxpayers, I want you to help yourself by calling to the town administrator / select board office at 978-540-5600. 2461 and leave a simple message and say, use Indian Hill for the senior center. Put the brakes on. Building from the ground up. Simple. Use the Indian Hill building for the senior center. Put the brakes on building a senior center from the ground up. I'm coming to you because I need your support to support yourself and help every taxpayer in this town to prevent some unnecessary debt that the town of Littleton does not need at this time. We have a whole lot of stuff going on that's moving in the town of Littleton. Some of it is affecting you directly and indirectly, maybe in another category like the water, if you tap onto the sewer line. But at this point in time, they have wasted time and inflation has jumped up. They should have moved on building a senior center back when and before the library was completed, because that was the idea that they was going to do it. But look how long it's been built, how long it's been open, and look where we're at now, and we still haven't did anything. As a matter of fact, if we were going to do it, it should have been built some time ago, if you're asking me. But we had leaders who wanted to do other things. And now I am saying to you, we need people to think like they're spending our money at a rate that, because it's taxpayer money, they need to slow down the rate that they're spending it. And they need to listen to us as taxpayers with regards to what we are saying about the finance of this community. There's no reason on God's green earth we need to spend $19.5 million overall costs, to build a senior center. It is nonsense. And we need to stand up and we need to speak up, and the select board and the finance board needs to hear us when we say enough is enough. Don't waste our taxpayer dollars like that. Yes, we may have already spent $1 million. We can afford to forgive that $1 million. But 19.5, when we can got a building already, we can put 5 to 7 in it. We got 5 already saved. It's a lot wiser and a lot smarter for us to take that empty building that is sitting up there on King Street right now, vacant, nothing in it. And we're talking about building a building from the ground up when you got a building that's already standing up. Just doesn't make sense. And I know it doesn't make sense. That's why I'm coming to you and telling you and writing the leadership fathers of this community and telling them that it ain't right. You got a building that's standing up, and now you want to take and build a building from the ground up when you got one that's already standing up? Come on. We're better than that. We know how important it is to do the right thing. And I can tell you, this is not the right thing. building a senior center from the ground up at this particular point in time when you got a building that's already empty. All it needs is rehabilitation. That's all it needs, is rehabilitation. It has a lot of features there. It has the ADA features that is up to par. It's got an elevator that goes from the top all the way to the basement. A large elevator. It has the space. Why we passed and said build a senior center is because we did not have a building at the time. So the next best thing was, at that time, was to go and build a building because we thought we could fall in right behind the library and get it pretty much at the same cost, maybe just a little bit more than the library. But when you waste time, things happen. So what happened? Inflation creeped up on us. And it went wild. And now we can't contain it. We're trying at this time to go ahead and build something because the contractor haven't gave us a definite, according to what I'm told, giving us a definite cost to build the senior center from the ground up. Well, I think that they can hold. I told the select board and FinCom, put the brakes on this project. You need to put the brakes on. This is unnecessary debt that you are levying upon the taxpayers in the town of Littleton. Everybody has the right to agree to disagree. And you may disagree with me, and that's okay. But one thing I can tell you, when I find out information, and when I think that we are not doing the best for the taxpayers and the citizens of the town of Littleton, I will step forward and let you know what my thoughts are. Because it's important. Nobody else in this town is stepping forward and telling you that this senior center building up from the ground up is $19.5 million. Nobody's telling you about the cost increase. Nobody's telling you about anything. It's all done without, you talk about transparent and transparency. Well, let me tell you, those are new words that came along. I tell you what it means. It's just simple. Tell the people the truth about what's going on. That's what it means. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Somebody in this town ought to be able to keep the taxpayers and the citizens abreast as to what is going on when it comes to our finances. No, it's quiet here and there, and they don't tell you what's going on and what's happening, and so forth and so on. A little bit leak out here and a little bit leak out there. They should come before you and tell you whether it's good news or bad news. They ought to come forth and tell you what is exactly going on and saying, should we do this? Or shouldn't we do this? How it will affect us? Will it raise your taxes? Do we have to go outside the levy? Nobody's telling you that. They're making it seem like everything is okay. Everything is not okay. If we go into this kind of debt, this budget is going to be out of whack. We're trying to pay down the debt that we got. And there's always that there's something else. As soon as you start getting down to where you can get out of debt, they find another project to put you back in more debt. Let's don't take the advantage of the taxpayers by simply going out there, putting projects on, and going in debt. We should be going in debt because it's necessary for us to go into debt. The debt that we need to take care of is ensuring that the citizen in Littleton stays safe, stay healthy, take care of our facilities, and ensure that we have a community that we enjoy each and every day. That's a broad spectrum of what we should be doing, and it takes money to do that. Our police, our fire, our paramedics, and so forth. We need all of that. The schools, the teachers. We need our employees at the town hall building. We need them at the light and electric. We need them at the highway. All these support elements that the town has. It costs us money to have the necessary things that are needed in order to protect us as citizens here in the town of Littleton. We need to ensure that our leadership fathers are doing the right thing by us as taxpayers. I shouldn't be the one that having to bring this up to you and tell you about, hey, we should put on brakes on this. This project is running crazy here. This is too much money. We shouldn't go into this kind of debt. We got a building already. Why don't we take and put the brakes on this and cancel that out, and let's fix up this building over here that we got, that we bought, that we paid $3.5 million for. It shouldn't be George Sanders telling you that. There should be people like on the select board and FinCom telling you that. That's what we elected them for, to be managers of our resources. And in particular, our bankroll. I shouldn't be the one to have to come and tell you about what we should be doing. We need to support the needs of this town, but we need to support it with understanding and that which is appropriate. It's not appropriate for the town, in my opinion, to go into $19.5 million of debt to build a building from the ground up and replace a tennis court. We have a building that is already standing that the town owns. Let's look what happened. We rehabbed the fire station. It was a building that we took and rehabbed. We can do the same thing for Indian Hill. Rehab it. We rehabbed Russell Street School. There's nothing wrong with a rehab. It's just a little less than all new. We need to do the things that are right in this town. And I can tell you, it is not right to go and build a new senior center from the ground up when we have a building that's already standing up? I repeat that because that is the reality of what is happening and what is going on right now in this town. So at this point in time, I know I've had your attention for at least a half an hour here, and I'm going to take and wrap this up here. But it's so important for you to understand that we need to pay very close attention to our leadership fathers in terms of what they're supposed to be doing for us as citizens of this town. And rightfully so, you have the right to know what is going on, what kind of debt that they are putting you into, and how much debt we owe. I realize that the senior center has been on the burn for a long, long time, long before I came here. And I've been here 26 years. And they were talking about a senior center before I came here. And finally, some people will see a senior center, but we've had so many that's gone on that never got a chance to see that materialize. I think it's very important that the seniors have a senior center. I truly believe that. But I think we as taxpayers, we want to be able to give that to them, but we also want to be able to do it at what we consider to be a reasonable cost. And if something get blown out of whack and we can put the brakes on it, then I think that we need to put the brakes on it, and especially where we're in a good position because we have an option. And that option is that we have a building now when we didn't have when we passed and said at the town meeting about building a senior center from the ground up. So we have to understand that it costs a lot of money, 19 and a half. Now you got to add the interest on top of it. So it ain't just 19.5 million. It's the interest for whatever number of years that you're going to have to pay it off. So I say again, I would like for you to come to the select board meetings, the next few select board meetings, and fill that room up. And let the town leadership know we ain't having this. We approved to buy a building. Now we got a building. Now the cost of inflation has run away. We can put brakes on. We can stop this. You need to stop it and take the money that you got in the stabilization fund and use it on the Indian Hill building to rehab 24,000 square feet of that building, giving 17 square thousand to a senior center. The other 7,000, we can give it to Park and Recs. I think that it is time that we start looking at, not only looking at project, we need to start looking at how do we manage and pay for these things. it's important for you to call the town administrator / select board office number 978-540-2461 and tell them put the brakes on. Use the Indian Hill building and rehab it. That is the smart thing to do in this day and time. It is so important that maybe you don't do a lot of participating into the government, but I call you to this task now to participate. If you can't get to the select board meeting, make that telephone call. And if you can get to the town select board meeting, come and stand up and speak during the public input and tell them, put the brakes on, use the Indian Hill building, rehab it with the money that we got, and if we need to borrow a couple more million, that's fine. But we're not for the 19.5 million plus interest to build a senior center from the ground up when we got a building that's already standing up. With having said that, I want to thank you for the opportunity to come before you once again and give you my thoughts. You may agree to disagree, and I respect that of each and every one of you. With having said that, God bless you, and I'll see you in the soon.